Hello everyone, I hope you're having a great day today. And as you might know, there have been a lot of villains in Marvel and DC comics that have kind of stood out, been pretty extraordinary. But one of the rogues galleries that comes to mind is the Batman villains. I think he might have some of the best villains. So in this video, we're going to be doing a tier list ranking the villains from the Batman movies. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section down below. And without any further ado, let's get started with the tier list. So to start off, I'm going to put the Joker, I believe, and Harley Quinn in the unsure category because I have not seen that movie. I think actually it might have been a couple movies in the DC Extended Universe. I have not got around to seeing that, so I cannot rank them. And I think this looks like it's just randomized, so we'll just go from left to right. Starting off with Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. This is kind of tough. I think I'm going to put him in the C tier for now. We're going to look at how this list plays out. But as of right now, I'll just put him right there. And I think that there are parts to him that I kind of like, but this is very different from the Bane from the comics, the Arkham video games. So the characterization is a little bit weird. I think his whole plan is a little bit cartoonish at first. So overall, just kind of middle of the road. Some things work about him. I think he's a little bit intimidating, but some things just don't work. Then we have Carmine Falcone from Batman Begins. We're going to put this in the A tier. I think he's overall a very good villain. Nothing supernatural about him. He's just a crime boss, and that's kind of what's neat about it. Alright, then we have Max Schreck from Batman Returns. This might be one of, if not the only, original villains just made for the movie, and I'll probably put him in the B tier. Overall, he works as a villain. He's a mastermind, but it is a little bit hard to rank him considering he only has this one appearance and he's not a character from the comics. And we have Poison Ivy from Batman and Robin, and I'm not going to put her all the way in the F tier, but I'm probably going to put her in the E tier. And just overall a very ridiculous movie that people don't like, and she kind of fits in with that movie as just being very cartoonish, not a great villain. Then we have the Penguin from Batman Returns, and this is a little bit hard to rank because this is very different from the comics. Obviously, he's described as kind of the gentleman of crime, the most civilized and sane of the Batman villains, but in this movie, he's kind of the opposite, so I'll probably put him in the B tier. I think he is a great villain for what he is. The performance was phenomenal from Danny DeVito, as well as the makeup. Overall, this is just very different from the other depictions of this character, so it is a little bit hard to rank. Then we have Two-Face from The Dark Knight, and I think I'm going to put him in the A tier. Overall, his downfall works. I think it's done very well, and some people have kind of complained that it was a little bit too rushed. Obviously, he dies at the end of the movie after not that much time of being a villain, but for what they were going for of making it kind of that quick story, I think it works very well, and then even his legacy kind of plays into the next movie. Then we have Scarecrow from the Dark Knight trilogy, and I'll also put him in the A tier. I think he is a villain that was done very well, and they did a good job of making him fit into this realistic world. Then we have the Joker from Batman the Animated Series, as well as Batman Mask of the Phantasm. This was voiced by Mark Hamill, and putting him in the S tier would be an understatement. As a matter of fact, no villain is going to beat him, so let's just go ahead and put him in a tier of his own. Here you have it. Alrighty, then we have Catwoman from The Dark Knight Rises, and overall you don't really see her as Catwoman too much in the movie, but what you do see of her I think works. This is a good depiction of the character. I'll probably just put it in the B tier. Then we have Catwoman from Batman Returns, and I think this is one of the better depictions of her. Obviously, she has her whip, and this is just very iconic, so I'll put this in the A tier. Next up, we have Lau, I believe that's what his name is. He's a businessman from The Dark Knight. Batman actually travels like halfway across the world to kidnap him and bring him back to jail. So overall, not really anything that stands out. It's just kind of the story around it that's pretty good, but other than that, he's a pretty normal crime boss. So I'll probably put him in the C tier. Then we have the Phantasm, and as a villain, this absolutely works. The twist works, that it turns out to be Batman's old girlfriend, and she's kind of intimidating, so I'll probably just put her in the A tier. Then we have the Jack Nicholson version of the Joker from Batman 1989, and I'll probably put this in the A tier. Just a very good classic version of the Joker. He's more of the criminal, kind of the gangster with a weird sense of humor. And so this version of the Joker is very iconic. It absolutely works. And then we have the Joker from The Dark Knight, which I will put in the S tier. It was a very good performance from Heath Ledger, who actually sadly passed away shortly after filming, but nonetheless, it was a very good performance, good characterization, and it was realistic. Then we have Mr. Freeze from Batman and Robin, and I'll probably put him in the D tier. He's not a terrible villain. He might be the only character in the movie that's actually not that bad. He is pretty goofy, but if the movie was on the same serious level as like Batman Forever or Batman Returns, I think not that many people really would have noticed. So not as serious as they could have gone, but in terms of the movie, I feel like he is one of the better written characters, which isn't really anything that good considering how bad the movie is. And then we have Bane. He is definitely going in the F tier, and this is from Batman and Robin. I will say I do like the costume design. It was comic accurate, so you got to give them credit for that, but otherwise they just use him as a henchman, not the mastermind, and he's just a total joke in this movie. Alright, now we have, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name because I always kind of forget and say it wrong, but this is from The Dark Knight Rises. She was the twist villain, the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, and it's terrible. It's going in the F tier. That was the worst part of this entire trilogy. People make fun of the Martha scene in Batman v Superman, but that doesn't even compare to this. It was just ridiculous, and there's no defending it. But now we have Ra's al Ghul himself, and I'm definitely putting him in the A tier. Just very well written. It was a great performance from Liam Neeson, and even though his motivations kind of contradict those of Bruce Wayne's, he has strong beliefs, and he's just a very interesting villain. Alright, then we have this guy here from The Dark Knight, or The Dark Knight Rises. I'm going to try to pretend that I can remember who he is. Definitely a C tier character. Alright, then we have the Riddler from the newest Batman movie. And overall, I think it was done pretty well, so I'll probably put him in the A tier, I would say. Obviously, he wants revenge, and I like the way they made this pretty realistic with his riddles. He's kind of taunting the police. So overall, I think he's pretty well done. Alright, then we have Carmine Falcone from the newest Batman movie. And I mean, I think he's pretty much about on the same level as the one from Batman Begins, but I'll probably put him one lower since he had a little bit less screen time. But overall, it was a good performance, good characterization. Then we have Catwoman from the newest Batman movie, and I'll also put her in the A tier, kind of on that same level as Catwoman from Batman Begins, but for different reasons. This was a more realistic version of the character, and overall, I think it was just done very well. Then we have the Penguin from the newest Batman movie, and I might put him up in the S tier. Even though he wasn't the main villain, I think he's kind of stole the show. The performance was really good, especially the makeup design, and the characterization was just done very well. Alright, then we have Maroni from The Dark Knight, and I'll probably put him in the C tier. I feel like he's not as memorable as he should be, but nonetheless, he's not bad. Alright, then we have the Riddler played by Jim Carrey, and I think this one is pretty underrated. I'll put him in the B tier. There have been quite a few complaints about Batman Forever, but this is the one I never really understood. I think he was perfectly casted. I do feel like his riddles aren't really that deep. That's why I didn't put him higher, but overall the performance was really good, and most of the depictions of the Riddler, at least up until that point, were pretty goofy, kind of like in the Batman show or the comics. And then lastly, we have Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, and I'll probably put this in the D tier. Overall, I don't think it's terrible, but it could have been better. They could have made it a little bit more seriously. And then Billy D. Williams actually played him in the first movie before his transformation, so there is a little bit of that weird continuity thing. But yeah, overall, that is my tier list. Let me know what you think of these villains in the comment section down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.